Hello friends and my lovely viewers. Welcome back to the channel of Neon Safe. Today we will check out the Guardian champion called Voidborne. We will go through his clan traits, skills, the special Guardian skill and traits. Let's get started.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. I'm tired of shit.
All the Guardians in Bloodline have 2 clan traits instead of 1. In Voidborne's first clan trait, he will at level 22 have an 18% increase in strength for 4 seconds when an allied champion dies. This effect can stack up to 2 layers. So only when our allies start dying is when he will receive a strength buff, but it is not a permanent buff as it will only last for 4 seconds. It can stack up to 2 layers, which means we can have 2 allies die at the same time and gain this buff twice. I honestly do not feel like this is a super OP clan trait to have, since it relies on the teammate's death. Losing a teammate in battle is like losing an asset. So we are losing an ally who could give us permanent contribution, to gain a temporary strength buff. Let us check out his second clan trait. At level 22 our Guardian will gain 240 energy points for each ally killed. So once again, he is only benefiting temporarily from the suffering of his teammates. That is kinda sad actually, and I don't know if it will truly help us that much in battle, to be honest. I guess these clan traits would be great if our other teammates are super weak and squishy. So if you do not have that great of a team and want to aim for a Guardian, then this guy may be the one for you. That being said, time for us to move on to his skills next. His active skill will deal 500% strength damage to all enemies in a fan-shaped area ahead, and he also applies a curse to them. This curse deals 160% strength damage every 2 seconds and explodes after 6 seconds. The explosion deals 300% strength damage and applies a 3-second lasting stun effect to the enemies. So to break it down a little, he deals 500% strength damage to enemies in a fan-shaped area ahead. Then he deals 160% strength damage 3 times to the same enemies he previously hit. After 6 seconds he blows up those enemies with 300% strength damage and stuns them for a few seconds. His active skill mainly focuses on dealing lots of damage in an AoE type of attack. So it makes him a great PvP Guardian, even though his attacks are limited to a fan-shaped area. Let us see his passive next. When our Guardian is dealing skill damage, if the target's energy is lower than our Guardian's energy, the damage our Guardian deals would bypass the target's damage reduction and reduce the target's energy by 40 points. Now when our Guardian is dealing skill damage, if the target's energy is higher than our Guardian's energy, then our target's energy would be reduced by 110 points, and our Guardian would snatch 30% of that energy, aka about 36 energy points would be taken from the target. This passive effect can be triggered up to 3 times every 10 seconds for each enemy champion. If the target is under control effect and this passive skill triggers, then the reduced energy would increase by 20%, aka about 132 points. This skill is quite complicated and difficult to understand at first. But what it basically means is that we receive buffs during the launching of skill damage attacks, based on whether the target's energy is lower or higher than our Guardian's. A target with lower energy means our Guardian ignores the target's damage reduction and reduces the target's energy by 40 points. A target with higher energy means the target loses 110 energy points and our Guardian takes 36 of those energy points for himself. And the effect altogether has a limit of how often it can activate on each champion. The passive looks decent in my opinion. It is not super OP or extraordinary in any way from what I can see, it just looks flashy with all those numbers. So, let us move on to his ultimate skill and hope for the best. He will summon a black hole at the center of the battlefield for 3 seconds. This black hole will pull in all the enemy champions and annihilate after 3 seconds. The obliteration deals damage equal to 600% of our Guardian strength to all nearby enemies. Compared to the newer Guardian champions, this doesn't look impressive at all. He just pulls in the enemies and deals a normal amount of damage once. So my impression of his so far isn't too good, to be perfectly honest with you. But we still have his special Guardian skill left which could turn things around. Let us check it out. He will dodge to our side of the battlefield for 8 seconds and launch 220% strength damage to all enemies 8 times. There is a 25% increasing stacking chance to inflict fear on targets until this channeling ends. He deals additional damage to fear-inflicted targets equal to 20% of their lost constitution. The limit is 2000% of our Guardian strength. Our Guardian's constitution is restored equal to the extra damage dealt. He gains 142 resolve per second when an enemy champion is incapacitated. For each additional incapacitated enemy, our Guardian gains an efficiency increase by 10%. He gains 125 resolve per second for the first 8 seconds of battle. This Guardian skill cannot be interrupted under any circumstances, and resolve cannot be gained for 10 seconds after casting this skill. Teaming up with champions that have control effects gives our Guardian faster resolve collection. This skill does make him look like a proper Guardian. He deals more damage and has a chance of inflicting fear on the enemy, which if successful allows him to deal even more damage to the enemy. Some of his attacks are limited by his amount of strength, so we gotta keep that in mind. He also restores his own constitution based on how much extra damage he deals together with the fear effect. This Guardian skill of his is a complete AoE attack where no enemies are able to dodge it. It kinda looks like all his great properties have been added to this one skill. And even if this skill is kinda dope, I can still not see him being a top tier Guardian. Anyways, this being said and all, let us discuss his potential trait combinations. I don't think this Guardian will need any energy buffing trait, considering he already has a skill which gives him energy. So for the first trait, we may put something to boost his strength. The trait called Brutal will at level 22 increase his strength by 45%. His skills are very reliant on strength after all, and we don't want to waste his potential. The second trait we may consider giving him is Energetic. Energetic will at level 22 increase our champion's constitution by 45%. This is just a trait to keep him alive for longer in battle. As for the third trait, I would prefer a trait to boost his fear effect on enemies or something similar, but I can't think of anything besides Hexproof. And Hexproof would only give us a chance to silence the enemy when attacking. But if you can think of something that debuffs the enemy with fear instead of silence, that may be a great trait for our Guardian champion. We still have to come up with a third trait for him, and perhaps the trait called Fierce may be our best pick. Fierce will at level 22 increase our total damage by 25%. These traits will give him more of a DPS build so he can properly deal damage to the enemy champions. Now I personally do not think this Guardian is among the top rankings. Thus, I believe we should aim for the newer Guardians, if we are planning on obtaining a Guardian in the first place. The other ones look more promising and stronger overall, so yeah. Anyways, I think we have covered most of the topic for today. If you have any questions or anything you would like to share with us, feel free to comment below. We highly appreciate your support and contribution. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Take care, stay foxy, adios, bye.